Well, welcome to another episode of HR The Leader podcast. I have the pleasure to hang out with somebody special, somebody dear to my heart, Alexis. We go way back, and I am pleased that she said yes to be a guest on this podcast. My name is Regis, and I have a special guest with me today. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then I'm going to let you guys know how Alexis and I connected. Alexis, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Yes, I said yes. I almost said no because this is my first podcast I've done. I'm just kidding. Anything for you. I got you. But yes, my name is Alexis Jemison, and I am a licensed and registered respiratory therapist. And I'll let you take it back over before I get too deep into it.
Okay. All right. So Alexis and I met, I think it's been 7 years ago now? 6 years. I think close to 6 years.
Yeah.
We used to work together, and she came on board as a traveler. And we're gonna get into that. And she was different. She was a different traveler. The same way you see she's bubbly, she's always been this bubbly through COVID. So she was one of our COVID travelers, and she always had a smile on her face. She's always, up and very bubbly. And then we grew into liking one another, understanding our relationship and clinicians and supporting one another at the bedside. And she's a great therapist. If I am ever in a critical situation, I wouldn't mind Alexis to be the one to take care of me or my loved ones. But this is how we connected, and then our path separated. That's the reason I invited her to the podcast, and she's an interesting person. Trust me. By the end of this podcast, you'll see. Wow, it's a lot. But trust me, she was always, "Hey, Hans, let's talk." I have to literally clear a solid 30 minutes to have a let's talk with Alexis. And it's just like after we done talking, after she's gone, I am confused. I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? But guess best believe she's an amazing person, amazing therapist. And then she moved into better and greater things, and I moved on, but we remain connected. I am one text away, she's one text away from, hey bro, I need you. Hey sis, what's going on? And bam, it's like we've never lost contact. So this is my relationship with Alexis. So, Alexis, talk to us about you. You said you introduced yourself as a licensed respiratory therapist, and that wasn't the reason I brought you in this podcast. But let's go ahead and talk about your respiratory journey.
Okay, so it started this year will be 13 years, September. So
Wow.
yes, so 5 years in, I was working full time and I was on night shift, and then I decided it was time for a change. I'm always looking to grow within whatever I'm doing. And on night shift, you're not gonna really see much. So, and there wasn't a day shift position at the time. So I decided to embark on the journey of traveling. So traveled and to one hospital, first hospital. It was different. But of course, I think of myself like a chameleon, if you will. So I can adapt.
That's true. That's true.
So I don't have a problem adapting. And that was again my whole point in traveling is to see different things and see how respiratory therapy is carried out at different hospitals because I know it's not the same everywhere. And then from my first contract to my second, that's where I met you. And again, I was on day shift for the most part of my travel career. Met amazing people, amazing therapists along the way, learned a lot, and continued to travel. Took some time off, went back to traveling, took some time off. Um, and it brings me to where I am now.
Before you get to where you are now,
Okay.
right?
hmm
So you were a staff therapist for 5 years. And
Yes.
then because you had an itch for something different, you decided to travel.
hmm
So did you start, because we met right after COVID. I think we met after the first round of COVID.
What
I think that's the
did
time when, right?
I think it was a little before because I I was at the same facility you were at before right before COVID happened.
Okay, so you started traveling before COVID, so we met through COVID.
We met a little before COVID. We
Yes,
didn't
I remember that.
Okay, that's when you were like, "Who was that girl?" You wasn't really trying to have conversation at that time. But I gave you time, you had to adjust. So I circled back around and then, that's when we became cool.
I think I should have prepped you for certain things not to say, but hey, it's Alexis. I should have known.
Hey,
Yeah, yeah, we're cool. Yeah. So yeah, we did. So we was before COVID. So how was COVID for you? I think we've never talked about it. We've never
we did
truly, we just went through it, but we've never talked about how was COVID for you as a
COVID
traveler.
as a traveler. COVID hit with my third assignment. So I'm still trying to get used to the whole being a traveler. I decided to go a little further away from home, and I was actually in one of the hot spots. So, and I actually started that position 2 weeks before COVID really blew up. So it was hectic. It was really just going through the motions, to be honest. Like you don't have time to really process what's really going on around you because it was just a lot of commotion. But like I said, I work with some amazing therapists and nurses, doctors. So we all just came together and did what had to be done.
Good. So, and still this day, because I'm still in management with respiratory, there is always a beef versus staffed and traveler. How was the traveling experience? And I think I'm one of the few leaders who have a lot of friends and a lot of coworkers who went to travel, and I had never had any beef or any ill intent. But how is it? What is the traveling experience? One, as a traveler, and second, how does it feel every 13 weeks to be the new girl somewhere if you don't get renewed, and the atmosphere, the culture of the traveling experience? We've never talked about that.
So there is some beef, and again, it depends on the facility. It depends on the culture of the facility, the culture of the department. Um, I've never really experienced any beef personally. I wouldn't say it was really beef. Maybe I would use misunderstanding from the
Mhm.
staff of how it works. So of course I had to clear that up, and from there I had no issues. But changing assignments every 13 weeks, again, you have got to be so adaptable and who is okay with change. So for me, that wasn't a big adjustment. Of course, I was nervous, like anybody would be, because you're going to a whole nother facility. You have to learn everything different. They give you 2 days, maybe 3 days max of a rundown. And when I mean rundown of how it works, your whole training process, and then they release you. So, as
Mhm.
far as that, that's with any starting a new. But I've always been, ever since I can remember, I've always been that girl who would find somebody and go up and say, "Hi, my name is Alexis. That was always me, and I that day at my so, me changing jobs or assignments every 13 weeks wasn't a big issue for me. Um, and then again, back to the beef. It again wasn't. I didn't experience that personally. I would say it was misunderstanding from the full time.
Okay. Good. And I think from your traveling experience, you eventually settle down and you eventually, um let's rewind. And all of our conversations, and hey Hans, can we talk? I was like, great. And after every time we talk, there is always, and you mentioned it in your introduction, there's always a passion for more. Where is that coming from? Is it Do you get bored easily, or you like to learn? But because every time we say, "Hey, Hans, can we talk?" I never know where the conversation is going, but it's always ending up in wanting more,
Mhm.
going for more. What is the next avenue? So, is that something that is built inside of you? Like, talk to me.
That's a good question. I never really thought about it, but I do get bored quickly. Um, and I do I love to learn. So I think it's a combination of both. And the world is huge. So I don't want to confine myself to just being in one role or one position. Like if it's open for me to go experience something else, then I want to do it. If it's something that's of interest to me. So I think
Mhm.
a combination of both.
So, in that quest, and you will know where I'm going, and a lot of our conversation, you start drifting towards education.
I did.
And I think I tried to tell you, girl, chill out. It's not it. But I think you kept going for it.
I did.
So, and I was like, you such a great therapist. Like what are you doing? Like, but what I like to teach, I like to precept. And I think you were one of the travelers who started to precept. Because where we were before then, no travelers did not precept, but you were one of the travelers who started to precept.
Mm.
So I was like, man, and it was like, man, you just always looking for something. So let's talk about the beginning phase of the reason I brought you to this podcast. How did education came about?
So as you just mentioned, education found me through precepting. And I really wasn't thinking much into it. Because like you said, even as a traveler, I just said, well, you only get like 3 days max of training. And then,
Hmm.
you go by yourself. So when I'm precepting, I'm looking like, okay, I'm a traveler. I'm trying to grasp it myself, but okay, let's do this. It's a challenge and I'm not going to back down. But even before that, when I was full time and even at other facilities that I traveled to before the facility where I met you, I was a preceptor. So I
Hmm.
liked doing it and I didn't realize that I enjoyed doing that until later on down the line. But that was educating there. So, precepting is having respiratory students. Sometimes I would have new hires and they would want me to train. Sometimes I've talked to nursing staff, whether they were new hires or they could have been seasoned and they didn't know about oxygen device or something. So I would educate them on that. So education found me within respiratory therapy, being bedside.
I remember you did that. You did that thing for nursing. I remember that now. I was like, yeah, and we did get a lot of flack for that. I was like, wait, what? But anyway, yeah, you are that girl, huh? Now I'm having flashback. I'm having flashback. Okay, so education. This is the main reason why I actually had you on this podcast. Transitioning from the bedside to the classroom. You finally made it.
I made it.
How long did it take you, and how many doors did you have to go through or process of switching or acquiring or getting there? Because after you did that, you did your projects and you presented all those things, and I'm pretty sure, I think to me it's easier to come from education into healthcare than going from healthcare to education.
Okay.
So how did that happen?
So after I got the bitten by the bug and I realized from precepting that I actually had a passion for educating, I decided to go back to school. And I actually started going back to school in 2020. So during COVID. Um, I ended up finishing 2 years later. So I ended up getting my master's degree in health science. Thank you. Mm-hmm. 4.0. And from there, after 2022, when I got my master's, that's when I started really thinking and looking for a job in education. Like, what does that look like for me? So,
Mhm.
of course, um, I was thinking about being an educator within a department, being some kind of clinical person within the respiratory department, or and I even applied to adjunct professors in a respiratory program, or being a professor in a respiratory program. Um, Doors were shut,
Mhm.
and yeah, it stung a little, but at the end of the day, I realized that that was just redirection for me to where I really needed to go. Uh, so eventually, um, my coworker, who I only met once actually, because her and I were working PRN, and she knew I wanted to get into education. So one day she texted me and she said, "Have you thought about working in the school system as far as middle school or high school?" And I honestly never thought about it because, again, my mind was college level. So I said, "No, I never thought about it, but I'm open to it." So she ended up sending me a link. And so I took the link, prayed about it, and I went ahead and applied. Didn't know what school, what district, none of that. And so I went ahead and applied, and then the information started, coming through. And I found out the school, I found out the system and all of that. Had the interview, and on the spot, I was offered the position for a healthcare science teacher.
Wow.
Hmm.
And I think there's one thing we both shared when we met is we both were people of faith. I think there were times that when we're going through where we came from and we have conversations, we always know the challenges I face in my position, the challenges you face in your position. I think there was some trauma bonding there. Uh,
Yeah,
but again, we were able to literally have those faith-based conversation. And you know some of my journeys, how I asked, how God transitioned me into different position. And definitely this one you just told me is definitely on God, because I was part of the processes when I saw doors being shut. And we've had conversation. But when you told me this is what happened, I was like, wow, this lady wants is favor, because I know where you come from, so I know it's not luck. But I was like, man, she ain't gonna stop. And now that we still follow each other on social media, I need to say I'm super proud. And I think I've texted you that before, that I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm proud of the bubbly person that you are in the classroom. So you did it. You transitioned from the bedside to the classroom.
I
Is
did.
there is there anything from being a respiratory therapist? Is there any transferable skills from being a clinician to being an educator for the public school system?
Absolutely. You still have to be on your P's and Q's, even more so, I would say, being in the public school system, um, using those people skills, your employability skills. So I may not be using my technical skills, but of course you can always use your soft skills. That's always needed everywhere. You still have to have that teamwork. You still have to be able to adjust, because any day you could have an assembly, and that's not how you planned your lesson plan. But you got to be able to adapt, and you still have to feed into the kids or pour into those kids, make that adjustment, but still cover what you plan on cover anyway, but just in a different way. So absolutely.
So the other question I have for you, did you see this as an extension or as starting over? When now you get the call, they offered you the job, you already had a successful career in healthcare as a respiratory therapist. Because, like I said, if I'm sick, you're one of the people I have on my team. If I'm building my own hospital one day, and I said, "Yo, build your own team," I'm calling you in. You one of them for me. So did you feel the first day when you said yes, and we had that conversation, you said yes, then you still having bubble guts. I was like, yo, what did I get myself into? So did you feel starting over? What was the feeling? What was the feeling from going through orientation? Now it's a whole different career change. It's something different, and do you feel like I'm starting over or a continuation of life? Talk to me.
I felt like so once I got the job, everything
Mm-hmm.
made as to why I didn't get those other jobs because
Mm.
like that at that point that's where God wanted me to be. So it made sense automatically that why I didn't get those other positions. Um, but again, going back to those travel positions and having
Mm-hmm.
to change assignment every 13 weeks, I felt like that's what I was doing, even though I knew I was in a whole different career. But to me, I'm like, okay, Alexis, you traveled, you've done this, so now
Mm-hmm.
basically you're doing it again. Um, and like I said, I going in, I didn't really process. I don't think, to be honest, I didn't really process that you're changing careers, and this is a whole nother ball game. Again, I just took it with okay, this is where we are now. This is where I'm supposed to be, and I know if God brought me to it, He's going to bring me through it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a bubbly person, so like I said, I went in with the same, "Hi, I'm Alexis. How are you? I'm going to be working here. I'm going to be doing this." And it's always for me, even with traveling, it's the behind the scenes work, like the getting in the HR stuff and everything together. That's the part that stresses me out. Making sure you go in to do, your testings and all this stuff. But actually starting the position, no. Now, with that being said, the first day when the students got there, yeah, I was like, what did I get into? What am I doing? Yeah. So then it really set in then. But again, it takes some getting used to. And my neighbors that I have, the teacher neighbors, top
Mm-hmm.
top tier. So they weren't gonna let me sink at all. So that helped out a lot. And of course, so the program that I run, which is a healthcare science program, they call it a pathway. That pathway had been vacant. There had been no teacher there in 5 years. So I was the first teacher they had in 5 years. So not only are they bringing it back, you're bringing it back with a teacher who is coming from industry into a whole nother ball game. But hey, I'm here. I'm present and accounted for. What are we doing? So, and the kids were excited as well. And believe it or not, some of the kids actually thought that that was not my first year teaching.
Wow.
If you go in, being timid and scared, and the kids they'll smell fear. They will.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go in strong and firm, friendly, but let them know that you mean business.
Hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. At HR The Leader, our mission is simple: building leaders, transforming organizations, igniting purpose. If you'd like to explore more leadership insights and resources, visit www.hrtheleader.com. And if this conversation is bringing value to you, take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps this platform continue to grow. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Is there anything else you've learned in healthcare in the high stress environment, high pressure environment you ran through COVID, all this traveling experience that actually made this transition a little easier for you?
This too shall pass. So anything, okay, I'm gonna be honest. So working in healthcare some days is less stressful than working in the public school system.
Really?
Yes. Helping to save actual lives is a lot less stressful than the public school system. I mean,
Wow.
as educators, we're saving lives, so to speak.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You guys are.
But you're not just so in healthcare, if the family has a question and it's not respiratory related, oh, I'll ask the doctor for you, or I'm not sure, let me get the nurse, or hey, lab technician, phlebotomist, can you? But in the public school system, you have to be the educator, you have to be the mom, you have to be the nurse, you have to be a counselor. Even though they have counselors, but in that moment, your student is looking to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a pastor. You have to be a shoulder for them to cry on, all in that moment. And you're not just dealing with your normal count of 25 patients. You're dealing with a little over 100 students, different personalities, different energy. Have to give them. So it can be challenging at times, but it is rewarding.
All right. There's gonna be two questions from this. If
Okay.
you can, give me compare and contrast your worst day in healthcare and thus far, because you're probably gonna have a little bit more experience as your experience goes into the education. But give me your worst day in healthcare versus your worst day in the education system.
Okay, when you mean yeah,
As far as I saw your worst shift, something that you experienced, like something that so far that has impacted you in a negative or that you still can't get over in healthcare that you still remember. And what is one of your experiences now that you recently had in education that you could see? How did you react to both of them? And I think in healthcare, one thing we've learned is the art of detachment. After something like this happened, we have the next shift. We could
right.
literally healthcare. We compartmentalize. Here's a question: we compartmentalize really well in healthcare.
Mhm.
Can you compartmentalize as well with education?
Mm, not so much because I wanna say probably of the age that I'm teaching, that I'm dealing with, these are teenagers. So you gotta approach it differently. You can't really
Hmm.
attach because you're gonna see them over and over for 9 months, you're gonna see them versus, a patient, and I can remember when I had a breakdown taking care of a patient in ICU, and my whole thing was letting that patient die with integrity. I feel like that aspect was taken away from that patient, so that kinda sticks with me. Uh, but like you said, we're kinda groomed to detach because you don't have time to really sit with it, and the supply room becomes your best friend, in healthcare. And coworkers, you can lean on your coworkers. Whereas, like I said, it with in the public school system, you can't detach because you're gonna constantly see that student. You have to contact that student's parent. You have to contact administration, whatever it is. Like you're gonna be constantly dealing with. You can't detach from it.
Hmm.
And again,
Wow.
you have workers to lean on as well.
So, what is one thing going into education? Because I think at one point in time, I know where your heart was gravitating more towards education, and
Mhm.
healthcare was the placeholder. I remember you at that time. Now that you are in education, is there anything that once you now, oh, I'm it, that you have a different perspective as your ideology on certain things now that you are inside of the system? How has those things evolved or changed?
Like you just said, I'm not on the outside looking in. So now when I had those students who were in college, and their work ethic and some of their soft skills may have been lacking. I can see now kind of where the crack is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that I did start in high school with high school students, because once you get to, and it's already a journey now and it's has now with this age group, because they're set in their watch, but you can still inspire. But
Mm-hmm.
once they get to that full adult college level, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do remember having a student that I was precepting, and she had on Crocs. And she said, "I'm ready, but when I have these Crocs on, that means I'm not doing no work." And I feel like they don't understand that when you're precepting, that's actually a part of your interview.
Mm-hmm.
So with my students now, I have them wearing scrubs. I have them not wearing Crocs, and if they do, they get points deducted from their grade. So they have a
Mm-hmm.
professionalism grade with the scrubs. And I explained to them why you can't wear scrubs. I'm sorry, why you can't wear Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
Because safety hazard. You're dealing
Yeah.
with and everything like that. And I've even showed them a picture actually where there was my coworker, her aunt wore some Crocs and she was at the hospital. Her foot got caught on the elevator or escalator, and she had to get stitches in her heel. So I have that displayed so that they can make that connection as to
Mm-hmm.
serious. Like, rules are made for a reason. So if I can instill that in them early in high school, so by the time they do decide to go into healthcare and they do decide to step foot in the hospital, they're already a little ahead of the game. They have the base. They just need to learn the technical part. Now they need to learn how to run this vent, how to blank,
Mm-hmm.
get ABG. But the other stuff, they got that in the bag.
All right. So since now you mentioned vents and ABG, I have to ask, do you miss it?
I don't miss it because I still practice PRN. So when on weekends, not every weekend though, but weekends, when the kids are out for a holiday, summer, yeah, I'm 12-hour shifts.
So this is great. This is a great podcast. So you have, okay, so now are you more of an educator than a respiratory therapist, or how is so okay, now redefine Alexis for me. So who is Alexis right now? Who is this Alexis I'm talking to?
Alexis that you're talking to now is still that licensed and registered respiratory therapist, still bubbly, still don't mind getting her hands dirty, don't mind teamwork, bring an event to anyone who needs one. And you're also now introduced to Miss J, which is what my students call
Oh, oh, it's Miss J.
it. And
Okay,
some
Miss
students,
J.
Miss Jemison, it just depends. But the educator who is able to bring that industry experience to the students, share my industry experience with them, let them know what these employers are looking for. Because I think that's also a blessing in disguise as well, because I don't have to be in education as far as with high schoolers, because this is my second career, but I want to be there to give this to these students, because if I'm not there to
Mm,
give it, who will? It's been vacant for 5 years. So
Mhm.
side of, okay, this is if I'm thinking about going into healthcare, this is what I'm going to be dealing with versus
Mhm.
going off to college and wasting money and time, and this is not really what they want to do.
Mhm. So the group of students that you are teaching now, you are in high school trying to teach them to go to college or vocational, or what are we doing?
So we want the students to be in college, enrolled, employed, or be an entrepreneur or enlisted.
Wow.
So
So remember we had this conversation, one of the conversation we had when you're trying to figure life out is you have leadership in you and you did not want to believe that I don't want this, Hans. I
I
don't want this.
still
I don't want
believe it.
But after everything that you talked about, you are a great leader. It's all about impact. And right now you went from impacting us in the healthcare. Now you're molding minds. You're having a great impact right now.
Well, thank you.
So what I'm getting is passion over a profession. I think you followed your passion and it paid off.
Yes,
Would you say that?
absolutely.
Would you recommend this path to anybody? Because at times somebody say, "Hey, you did this. Tell me about your story," and you try to motivate them, or you feel like your story is ordained by God and it's different. And is it something that you think um, you would inspire another therapist, another healthcare provider to consider that path, or you think it was tailor made for you?
My story is my story, but I do feel like, just like I tell my students and anybody with healthcare, if you are going into healthcare for the money aspect, healthcare is not for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going into education for the long summer breaks, education is not for you. So you
Mm-hmm.
still have that passion for going into either, honestly.
Good. Listen, it already at 37 minutes, so you see it wasn't that bad at all. So let's have some fun. Are
Okay.
you a morning or a night person?
I am are we talking about what are we are we talking
Don't
about
don't don't do
no,
that. Like
no,
where your best?
I'm gonna
Go
say
ahead.
it depends. I can't just give you an answer because if I'm catching a flight, a morning person. But just in general, a night person.
How often you catch a flight? So you're a night person, Alexis. Thank you. Mercy.
First, go ahead.
Do you prefer a stethoscope or a whiteboard?
Hmm. It's a tie. It's a
Why are you
tie.
making this so you're
Tie.
making this so difficult?
No, I can have a tie. I can prefer both. You
All
know
right.
what?
All right.
No, wait.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna choose a whiteboard because I don't the stethoscope hanging around my neck, like it makes your stethoscope the oils from your skin gets in the stethoscope and then it makes it hard and you gotta purchase another stethoscope. And those stethoscopes ain't cheap. And I'm not the type to be going in there getting one of them disposable ones to check on people and have them sound everybody sounded diminished. Like that's just not what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go with the whiteboard. I'm gonna go with the whiteboard.
You have not changed. This should have been a rapid fire funny. You
Okay,
give me
okay,
a whole all right.
okay.
Next question. Next questions. Hospital food or school cafeteria food?
Ooh, hospital.
Okay.
Especially at that
Early.
facility with the pancakes on Wednesdays.
Okay. All right. Early medical rounds or staff meetings.
Um, whew, staff meetings.
Yeah, your attention span would get so quick in medical rounds. Yeah, I remember.
Because everybody
Uh,
talk and I just want to say what I got to say so I can go.
I get it. If well, I wasn't say if okay, if you were not a therapist, you were not an educator, what would you be?
Um, an astronaut.
Oh, mercy. Okay, next. Oh, you always gotta go for extra.
Shout out.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So one word that describes the season that you are in right now in your life.
Revealing.
Hmm. Okay. Or things being revealed to you, or you are revealing things to others. Maybe
Things
don't answer that. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. My bad. Listen, don't answer that. Uh, Lexis, thank you for being here. See what it was very fun.
Thank you.
I know having a conversation with you would be easy. We've had these conversations over and over again. So it was like old time, like, hey Hans, can I talk to you? Got a minute? And a minute turns into 45 minutes to an hour. It's always been a pleasure. Definitely, I'm happy that you kept your foot in the healthcare because you are a great clinician, and I know that you're an awesome educator. I see the work that you do. I see the stuff that you post on social media and how happy and radiant that you are, and what your students stay about you. So again, for me, a word that I would tell you is keep walking in your calling. You've done it at the bedside when we met 6 years ago, and you are doing it now. And hopefully we're going to stay connected, and I want to see where you end up 5-6 years from now. Thank you for coming to my podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all those nice words and encouragement. You know, I got you, like you said, one text away.
Same here. Bye.
Bye, Hans.